had the dot-com economy. So here we go. Supply side said this is what happened. Y0, Y1, P0, P1. So when we had the big explosion, the ecosystem, the perfect ecosystem innovation, boom. Netscape browser, the internet happens. Supply-siders claimed the internet as their thing. They said this is what happened because clearly in a Keynesian economy that's not possible. In the Keynesian economy you cannot have, look at this, Y went up and P went down. Right? This was counter-cyclical. Not possible. Supply side says this is not possible in a Keynesian economy. And so they said, look, P0, Y0, you have P1 and Y1. So they said, we created the dot-com economy, we created the internet, because this is what happened in the internet. Output went up, and inflation went down from like 4% or 5% to 1.1%. We had growth without inflation. Clearly, it's a supply-side story. You Keynesians can take this model, go back to Princeton where you came from, wear your little tweed jackets with your little leather patches, because remember, supply-siders are snarky people, they're in-your-face people, you know, they always are speaking very fast. As I said, they're either going to the gym or coming from the gym. So kind of hyper individuals, they're always sweating. And so they said, you Keynesians can go back to where you came from, wear your tweed jackets, because clearly in your world you cannot show this. So go have your expensive ice cream in Princeton, hang out there, and they would say things like, Keynes is dead. So this big thing, Keynes is dead. What was the Keynesian response? Keynesian response was nonsense. What nonsense? So here we are. This is what actually happened. And they said, what nonsense? First of all, do we talk to you like this? Is there any reason to be rude? Can we not discuss this like grown-ups? You know, why do you have to be so rude? All that happened was, we used to be like this, and then the internet happened, and they said, we Keynesians are not idiots, contrary to what you think. We do surf the web. We know about the internet, shocking as it might be to you. We've been to Amazon, believe it or not. So all that happened is, we used to live there, and now we live here. It's a one-time only shift. And so look, there you go. So our address changed. So the production function went up. So yeah, it was a one-time only. It was such a big thing as the internet. The internet was huge. The fire, when we discovered fire. The wheel. The four-stroke engine. And on and on and on. And so they said so. But the interesting thing is, once again, we'll be overheating. Once again, there will be soft landing. Look at the market now. Look at the economy now. The Fed's raising interest rates. Everybody's holding their breath. So we used to live there. We changed the address. We now live there. It's a one-time only shift. We are not dead. We are matching you. One time only. You know, you can't ignore it. It moves our curve too. So there you go. And so these guys said, all right, how about stagflation? In stagflation, you had here P0, Y0, and then we had P1 and Y low. There is no way you can show that in the Keynesian model. You can't have Y0, Y low, P1, and P0 and P1. Look at that. So you cannot have output, here output went down and prices went up. That's stagflation. And so the supply side has said, look, we can show stagflation, you cannot. When your Y falls, your P falls too. So one more time, go back to Princeton or Harvard. Keynes is dead. Take that model and take it with you and go. Please. You're done. No more Phillips curve. Phillips curve is dead. Because you cannot show that. You know, Y falls, P falls here. It's pro-cyclical here. Supply side model is counter-cyclical. What was the Keynesian response to that? Come on, what do you think?
Shift up.
Sorry?
I think you could shift it up.
The Keynesian response, what would they first say? They would say, listen, is there any reason to be rude? Do we talk to you like this? No, we don't. So why, what is this rudeness? So we used to be here, it's another one-time only shift, and we now live there. This is oil shocks. And so that's it. We are fine, there's nothing wrong with our model. And now once again, overheating and soft landing and G and M are important. Why is it so preposterous that you have a problem with us doing these one-time only shifts? And supply siders would go, because you are cheating. Every time we nail you down, you go another one. How many one-time only shifts are you going to have? And Keynesian will go, excuse me, if you're going to talk this way to us, this conversation is over. And so here we are. This is how they explain this apparent inconsistency. All right, look at your handouts and look at your classic macro articles from your laptops. And look at article number 15. Can you tell me what that one is, please? I've memorized the page number, but page 15 from your classics. What is it? Is it the Chinese thing?
That's 16.
What's the page on page 15? Look at the index on your laptop.
15 is deficit yoga.
Deficit yoga, that's the one on page 15? Okay. Look at deficit yoga, thank you. That's what Mitun was talking about. So, this is a great one, we talked about it. There is no cause for political panic which would only lead to tax increases that would make the deficit larger. What's going on here? If you, tomorrow at work or at home, if you said the taxes are going up, people would say, yeah, the deficit's going to go down. How is the deficit going to get larger in this paragraph? We have talked about this in class. This is the mistake we made in the Great Depression. So, one more time, I'm going to read it out for you. First paragraph. There is no cause for political panic, which would only lead to tax increases that would make the deficit larger.
There's no need to change the tax policy or.
Which diagram? Megan, always diagram. So let's start with this one. Okay. Just in case you're a supply sider, why not? Okay. Okay, now talk to me. Thank you, Pooja. So here we are. Okay, what's next? How will the deficit get larger? No, Pooja is not speaking, she just does things like, what?
I was raising my hand.
Oh, I thought this was macro that you were doing.
No, that was before. Because, their take-home pay is smaller.
So,
so less than
so show me B1,
I'm sorry.
Y low, come on, so, nail it down for me, someone, come on. Shravan, nail it down for me. Colleen, Chris, Eric, Frank. How will deficit get bigger? 10,
So then, like your large home, I see.
yeah. So this is the budget deficit, G minus T. Greater than 0 is the budget deficit. So you're raising tax rates will make the deficit bigger. Seems counterintuitive.
It's little t, that gets bigger.
So, thank you. So this T is tax revenues, that's T times Y. Remember, folks, this is T click. Very important. Tax revenues. Do not confuse tax revenues with tax rates. Two separate things. Tax revenues is the dollars. The tax rates 10% of $100. So that's $10. So what happens here? Why my tax revenues actually fall? You're raising tax rates. So what might happen though here? Peter? Dave?
The revenue would go down. The growth will go down.
What if Y goes down a whole lot? You see what's happening, Solomon? And so what might happen, Jessica? Tax revenues may actually fall. Remember the example I gave you in class?
Mhm.
Beamers, boat dealers, right? And so what you can have is you're raising tax rates, but tax revenues may actually, even though tax revenues, the size of the pie decreases, may fall. And so you might be like Great Depression. Taxes went from 25% to 65% or something like that. Deficits got larger. So, now the supply side story. What would happen if you raise taxes? Come on, Leah, Twinkle, Zara. What would happen when you raise taxes in that diagram? Dana, yeah, thank you. Sarah, so tax increases. Can you see labor demand, labor supply moving to the left? Yes? And so look at this, Y lower. And so again, the size of the pie decreases. And as Y falls, T may fall too. So it doesn't matter which model you are in, tax rates may actually cause tax revenues to fall. So let Biden see this. It's important that he understands this. John F. Kennedy was the only president that both models like. Keynesians and supply-siders claim him because JFK understood the effect of business taxes on C-bar and I-bar, especially I-bar. So JFK was very careful to not increase business taxes too much. He got that. So both models like JFK. He's the only president that both models really like. Okay, you got this, Stan?
Where does the Laffer curve?
Yeah, that's what the Laffer curve is exactly this. So if you were to cut taxes, Dan, right? If you cut taxes, so the tax rates, so T is equal to Ty. If you cut tax rates, if Y goes up a lot, tax revenues may actually go up. And so in other words, you cut tax rates, that's what we were talking about earlier, and you think if you cut tax rates, the opposite would happen. Why? So Ireland, come to Ireland with computers, no taxes for 5 years. But all the new employees, the Dells, the Gateways, they're going to buy houses in Ireland. They're going to buy cars. They're going to eat out. They're going to buy Beamers. All that's being taxed. Not corporate profits, but all that. And so tax revenues may go up. Now, what happened in the Reagan years is it was not clear that this happened because G also went up on defense, you see? So it was all muddled up mess. But that's the sentiment.
Like what happens in countries which have a psychology of tax evasion?
Well, he's talking about India where no one pays taxes because the thing is, the psychology of tax evasion is if your taxes are not going anywhere, going into a minister's pocket, then why pay taxes? Varun, you're resonating?
I just said I paid my taxes.
And so if your income, and if you're a professional, you have to pay, right? I mean, so this is the business taxes we're talking about. All right, look at article on page 22, that's 22 digitally, from your, it's a Chinese article about Taoism. Am I right? Tao Te Ching.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, yes, Taoism. So I had somebody in my class who was a doctor. Victoria, she retired. She had the largest medical practice for women caring for women in Morristown. Huge. Then she retired and goes to California to do a PhD in Eastern religions. Her name's Holly Roberts. She's downstairs in the lobby. She's profiled. Holly Roberts. So she sent me her book. She was my student, and those diagrams, those drawings are also done by her. She did all the drawings too. So she sent me her book, and I was looking at it going, yeah, let's read it. Lo and behold, when I was in Shanghai, one of the students said, Professor, the Chinese invented supply-side economics. Initially, I flew off the handle. Enough! China can't invent everything. How can you invent everything? Enough already. They said, no, we invented some, sounds like we just, yeah. And then I'm reading this and I'm going, oh my gosh, yeah. Taoism. So that's what, 2000 BC? Something like that? So here we go. By not interfering, one can gain the world. The more restrictions, the poorer the people. 51-foot ladders. The more laws enacted, the greater the thievery. Not interfering, not meddling. So basically, laissez-faire, leave it alone, fewer laws. So I thought that was very interesting. And then, page 25. This one is a gem. It's like, these are classics of mine going way back. So, Dana, you will like this. This is the Benjamin Netanyahu article. This one's a gem. This one highlights everything we've done here today. So click on A, paragraph A. That's page 25, Bloomberg.com, Netanyahu, from many years ago. Zahi, is he watching? Zahi, put down the falafels and pay attention. So here we are. Look at paragraph A. So here is this man who went to school here. His tax and spending cuts helped lift the economy out of recession. Low G. Low G. This is so, which model is this? Tax cuts and low G. Not, which model?
Supply
It's
side.
textbook supply side. Keynesians would be high G, right? Infrastructure. Keep reading. Look at paragraph C. Israel must take steps in the same spirit as the US and Europe to allow an even bigger deficit, said Avi Ben Basad, professor of economics at Hebrew University. The situation requires a change in economic policy. So tell me about Avi Ben Basad. Be to allow an even bigger deficit. Matthew? Come on. Ben?
25.
Dan?
Showing like increasing G.
Increasing G. So what kind of a guy is Avi Ben Basad? He's a Keynesian. Suddenly you have this Keynesian paragraph stuck in there. Like, huh? What? Keep reading. Paragraph D. What's happening in paragraph D? Can you tell me, anyone?
Deregulation.
Privatization.
Paragraph D is
Deregulation.
Netanyahu 59 to lower Israeli tax rates as he did as finance minister, to liberalize the real estate market. What is this textbook? Anushri, what is this? What's that, Dana? Yes, so here, trying to do this, privatize, liberalize, lower taxes. Look at E. What is that? Neil, what is E?
Disinvestment.
Vidya, what is E? He's privatizing LL. Bezek, biggest telecommunication provider, Israeli Discount Bank, third largest number, privatize. SOEs. SOEs are being privatized. SOEs are being privatized. What is that? Megan? What?
I was gonna say state-owned economy.
State-owned enterprises.
Yeah, so which diagram, which model? Privatizing SOEs, remember, in emerging transition economies, you first privatize, then you deregulate. This, right here. This. So this is privatize, then deregulate, then increase in productivity, and then finally innovation. This is the whole procession. This is how it's supposed to progress, the progression of going from an SOA to exploding with some new innovation. And so this is all textbook supply side, privatizing SOEs. Keep reading the next paragraph. Look at F. It's very important to create an internal engine. He's even talking our language, engine room. By reining in the size of government. What is that? Cutting G, which model?
Supplies.
Yes, this is high priest inner temple supply side model. G is bad. Less G. Now again, Keynesians would go, what nonsense. supply siders keep going on and on about G, and big G is bad, G is bad. They are the biggest spend, this is what Keynesians would say. Reagan, G is bad. Look at the huge G he did in defense. They will say, it's like Gone with the Wind, the movie. What men say and what men do are two completely different things. That's in the very first scene of the movie. So what supply siders say, that's what Keynesians would say. What supply siders say and what they do are two completely different things. And supply siders would respond and say, oh, we cut G in transfer payments, but we increased G in defense. Hey, that's what brought down the Soviet Empire. So you can thank us anytime you like. And so we go back and forth. And that G was good G. It's that kind of G. We go back and forth, back and forth. What is H? Both of those paragraphs in H. What are those? Nick?
So they're saying they need expansionary fiscal measures, so this is more Keynesian.
Thank you. Nick, this Nick here?
I mean, I would agree, because that's advocating for more G,
So exactly, so what do you
Yeah.
guys, what do you think this is?
increasing G,
So
yeah.
what kind of person is, who is this now?
Plus
Reinhard Klus. So what kind of person is this?
Keynesian.
Keynesian. So here we are, look at this. These are textbook Keynesian paragraphs. Yes, no, Dave? So suddenly now, so you can now understand, you can almost understand why mom and pop America, mom and pop India, mom and pop China are confused. Imagine them reading an article like this going, I don't understand this article. In one paragraph, you got one guy saying, reduce G and privatize, and then you have another paragraph where another guy is saying increase G and have larger deficits. And I don't understand economics at all. And of course there's confusion, identification problem. Clearly the author of this article is just putting these quotes in, as opposed to helping the reader out and saying, now, clearly these two quotes subscribe to another model. So, no wonder there's confusion out there. It was beautiful. This one's got it all, the whole identification mess. So you see, this is why mom and pop America perpetually confused. And this is why sometimes, I wonder if our policymakers even understand this or that. There are two kinds of people in the world. You look like this, or you look like that. So when Trump was president, I had reporters saying, is Mr. Trump trying to be a supply sider or a Keynesian? Which model is? I said, what, you're going to go to President Trump and say, Mr. President, this one? Or is it this one? Okay, let's go to Biden. This or that. And I know Biden's response. I had peanut butter sandwich in the house, 25 miles, and I had only grape jelly and a peanut butter sandwich. Enough already. No more peanut butter sandwiches. All right. So that's done. Dana, so Israelis, they don't like him anymore?
It's half an hour.
So when in the final exam back in the day, I used to ask you before you saw the questions to tell me what you are next week. There will be one question where I'm going to let you decide. You choose. Because for some of you, it's a philosophical thing. I never took anything from Uncle Sam or the government. That's the Francis story. Remember my Francis story? Does no one?
Yeah.
What?
Oh no, I'm just angry about Utah.
That's not how it works, Pooja. Come on, the Francis story.
The wine coolers.
The wine cooler guy, right? You missed it. Greg, the Francis story? The guy who never spoke in my class.
And then he lost, and then he like went
Then he went off completely. Completely went off. He never, because he was in 7-Eleven and someone was buying wine coolers from food stamps. Remember? And then he didn't speak again after that. He just went berserk because he said, "That's my money. I never took." So he was extreme. He's the head now of corporate intelligence at NBC. So he's done well from this program, but he exploded. He also went off on, they are buying sea bass. Remember the sea bass story?
No.
Are you guys actually
No,
here?
not the sea bass.
No?
I don't
Chilean
Trees
sea
didn't
bass?
know the sea bass.
Chilean sea bass? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
People, why do I bother with all my stories? Bitul, do you remember the stories? Jessica, why am I
I
bothering?
remember Chilean sea bass, but I don't remember how it tied in.
Alright, let's do the survival guide. So here we are. Now I'm going to show you the survival guide for supply side model, and we will look at what's happening in our economy right now in the supply side framework. So stay with me now, and then we will do a cycle of one. This is a tough one, so let me see how you do. And then we will call it a day. Okay. Survival guide. Stan, this is everything you hoped for in supply side? Because you're the only one who's admitted that you like this model. Yeah.
It's answered a lot of questions for me.
If you're a small business person, you would resonate because you can feel the pain when the corporate taxes resonate. How big is your business with the plants? Is it a giant company or?
It depends on how you measure it. Our parent company is, 20,000 employees.
So you can.
We're small.
All right, stay with me here. Supply side, you've done the Keynesian ISLM. And let me give you the full framework here. All the videos I've sent you are fair game. So I know it's open book, but you're not going to sit here and watch movies, right? An exam, so please watch them. Okay, survival guide, supply side. I do one, and then you guys do one. Set it up for you. So here we are, survival guide. First one. Shift aggregate demand by shifting ISLM in virtual space. And shift labor demand, labor supply, production function. It's actually very true, it's almost trivial. And then aggregate supply. And there's 3 steps. Step 3, present results boldly. Can I erase this? Okay, so here we are. Let's do this together. So for all you supply side measures out there. This is going to be your framework. Here we go. So let's look at our world now. Okay, let's try and factor in what's happening now and around the corner. So 4 diagrams. Production function, labor demand, labor supply, N0, W0, P0, N0, Y0, aggregate demand 0, P0, Y0. And so let's look at last 3 months. So first let's put in everything we want to put in. So, sorry guys, straighten my lines here. So come on, so we have the hindsight of knowing what happened here. So the results were P increased, Y lower, unemployment increased a bit, okay, so we know the results. So we're kind of cheating here. We know what happened, but let's bake it in. Let's kind of do it. But let's put in, what do we put in this too? So we have some taxes went up, finance tax increases. What else, folks? So talk macro to me. So M down. What else has happened in our world? Come on.
Inflation?
That's a result. So in terms of things, so fiscal policies, monetary policies, and exogenous shocks.
Supply has just gone down, gas prices have gone up.
So yeah, but that's the result? What caused that?
War?
Yeah, so and also post-COVID supply chain issues. Semiconductors.
Did G go down as well?
Thank you. Who said that? Thank you, Jessica. G down. End of COVID relief checks. What happened to confidence? Thank you, Solomon. White shock. All right, we've just kind of put this in the stew, and if I were to ask you a question next week, this is how you go about it, you know? This is all that's going to be put in, and let's say this one we are cheating in the sense, we know what happened, so we just bring this as a practice. So look at the survival guide, shift aggregate demand virtually. So, just gonna put it up there here. So what happens to the aggregate demand? Come on, help me here. Give you a few minutes. You can talk amongst yourselves. Which ones? Let's put this in also here. Sorry, black. Long-term. Give you 5 minutes or so, talk amongst yourselves. Pick up the aggregate demand shift, and then the rest. It's actually much more simpler than the Keynesian diagram. Very good, very good.
Yeah, whether it's taxes or. I would agree with you.
Okay, so what happens to the aggregate demand?
It moves to the left.
Alright guys, so it's actually very simple. So let's start with this.
Okay.
Biden's taxes went up, M went down. So let's do this, and this. So taxes go up, G goes down, C bar and I bar goes down. What happens in ISLM space?
IS moves left and pivots counterclockwise. Clockwise, sorry.
Yes, no? Yes, no? Right. And then M,
LN moves to the left.
okay? Right? We're done. So survival guide says aggregate demand, do it virtually. So what happens? It dangles from a string. So what's happened to aggregate demand? Which way?
Left.
Left. See, I can't get this wrong because I can erase, you cannot. So step one. Okay. Now let's do Putin's invasion, supply shocks, semiconductor problems. So what does that do? Which diagram? Suddenly we have supply chains traumatized, oil prices traumatized, semiconductor issues.
Output decrease?
Yeah, because, which diagram gets affected right away? Yeah, before that?
The lower right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Yes. Anushri? Yes, productivity is going down. So now when you move from oil to synthetic oil or solar or oil from another country, another source, so here, so post-COVID plus Putin, decrease in productivity. Now let's tie in also, long-term macro outlook is bleaker, tax increases. So show me tax increases in that diagram. Then, Mark, yes, so tax increases. And show me decrease in long-term outlook. Housing is going down, new housing starts are going down, C-bar is falling. Show me decrease in long-term outlook. Which diagram will that affect, Greg? Remember long-term macro outlook, where did it show up last class? Long-term macro outlook? Labor market, who said that? Yes, Twinkle. So what happens when long-term macro outlook goes down?
The demand is lower?
Yes, so here we have decrease in long-term. So confidence is in the labor market. This is the beauty of the labor market, the supply side model. They have C-bar and I-bar longer term. It's like a discounted present value of future confidence actually. So that's factored in, remember that. The labor market's is very sophisticated here, so we're done. And lower. And lower. Y lower. Here we go. Here we go. P higher. Y lower. Behold, and this is why people are wondering, is this stagflation? P is going high, Y is falling. It's heading that way. Will it be as bad as the Carter stagflation? This is the diagram. So here you are. Supply siders would answer it this way. There you go. Everything's in here. How would Keynesians answer it? So let's kind of put a red square here. Show me exactly the same. Yeah, who said that? Reading. Supply side is Keynesians can't show that, right? P is going up, Y is going down. So how would Keynesians explain this one? Megan?
Another one-time shift.
They would say, no problem. It was exactly this. We were here, we lived here, and then Putin's misadventure, post-COVID shocks, one time only. And so this is how Keynesian would explain exactly the same thing.
Could that also be called like supply side, inflationary pressures to that line?
So this is your old friend, cost push inflation. Remember we looked at cost push? That's what this is. And this helps, and so for both models, even if you're Keynesian, India, this is India. This is the Indian diagram, China's diagram, North Korea's diagram, that's this. All emerging economies today, for the last 3 months, this is your world. But in America, you can have the identification story with both. How are you folks doing? Like this model? No? Nick, real quick, and then I'm going to give you a cycle of one. Let me see how you guys do. Nick, Jose?
What does that say, long-term?
Macro outlook. Remember that was baked into the labor market, Nick?
Yeah.
Jose?
When you move the aggregated demand curve in the TY diagram, how do you know how much you have to move it? Because if you move it further to the left, then the square may end up below the...
Yeah, I cheated. So, Jose, for you, because we know the result, so that's why you saw me being very careful. I wanted to show you the red square higher than the old one because I know inflation went up. However, if I were to ask you in the exam, look ahead, next 6 months, give me what you got. I don't know the answer. Tell me, Farooq, I've assumed that this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Was another hand? All right, cycle of one, and then we'll be done. So I'm going to say this once, so listen carefully now. Let's see what you got. So here we are, it's a real case. Battle of Waterloo, the night before the Battle of Waterloo. Napoleon is finally meeting Wellington. Napoleon is the French guy, Wellington is the English guy. They've never met before. These are the heavyweights. These are the super major generals. It's the night before the British camp, it's raining. Wellington is with his officers, and he's walking through this unit of Irish soldiers called Inniskillings. Who are my Irish here? Inniskillings, the ferocious guys, terrifying fighters. And suddenly, Wellington notices one of the soldiers, his backpack, something's moving. And he says, "Excuse me, sir, could you open your backpack? What's in there?" So the soldier goes, okay. He opens it, there's a baby pig in the backpack. And so Wellington goes, "So you know the penalty for stealing from the peasants? It's immediate execution, you know that." And so the soldier goes, sorry for the confusion. Yeah, I found it and I was going to return it to the farmers I'm looking to return the thing. And so Wellington's officers go, "Boss, can we just shoot him? Because the soup it's ready and we have to have dinner. And so can we just like put him against the wall and just shoot him and let's go, please? So Wellington goes, no, let's see what he has to go. He said, sir, you know there are no peasants here. It's evacuated. There's a war. There's a battle happening tomorrow. You are lying, sir. The penalty is execution. Do you know that? And so the soldier goes, I can see where the confusion is coming from. No. It's not the peasants, and you're right, Your Honor. The peasants have all left. There's no Belgians here. This is Waterloo. I was going to look for the pig's parents, the pig's family, to reunite this baby pig with its family. So that's what, I'm not stealing it. And Wellington's officers went, boss, once the soup gets cold, so can we just please just shoot him? And you know, here, can you just stand against the wall, please? And Wellington said, no. What would you do? What would you do? Mr. Greg of Ireland, what would you do? What you are Wellington, tomorrow you're facing Napoleon, it's raining, everyone is watching it, this is a true story. What would you do? Come on.
I'd let him go because he's carrying around a baby pig, so he's probably not a threat.
So you're going to be the compassionate one carrying about, oh, he's a baby. But what about all the soldiers who are going, hey, check it out. He got away with it, so let's go loot. I saw some chickens back there, anybody? So let's go. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Make the bed. Throw that pig into the soup. Okay, so I'm here thinking about the guy. What do I do with the guy? I thought you said throw the guy into the soup. So that might be a little extreme.
I'd have one of my soldiers go say, okay, go, he's gonna go with you. So go follow your plan, and then it'll be pretty obvious if the guy really didn't have a plan to do it or not.
Jessica, there's a battle happening in 8 hours. It's pouring rain. You want to have another guy schlepping around with this poor guy?
Yeah, but the pig.
And then you know there is no pig's family. Come on, guys.
Take him with you to get
Take
Take
who?
the guy with, like, they should take him, like, capture him and take him.
He's your own guy.
Oh.
Anushri, this is your own soldier. Okay, so he's your guy.
Kill him.
You want to kill him?
Kill him.
Because the soup's getting cold. Thank you very much. That was many people will agree with you.
Forgive him, spare him, send him to the front.
And so how would that work now?
Next day in the battle, he's, him and his unit are ready to be front, put him in front of the cannons. I don't know how that goes.
Yeah. Dan, Colleen, Sharon, Elena. Shoot him? Elena's just gonna take him out because the soap's getting cold, and once it really stops, it's not hard, it's no fun. The cookers get all soggy, yeah.
No, this is smart. But, I mean, you have to kill him because you're going into battle.
You gotta kill him because you're going into battle?
Yeah, because you have to lead through fear and that.
Lead through fear?
I am to a tree.
Yeah, this guy's, this guy's joining you. He's gonna push him against the wall and you can wipe him out.
Could you pretend to shoot him and then let him go?
Oh, this is, you're gonna do my thing about the takeout guy? Yeah.
Say let the men eat first.
Let him eat first, okay.
Serve the soup. Deal with it after.
He's not getting the soup. The soup is for the officers. Please understand.
Well, I'm saying let the officers go ahead. It's agitating them, right?
And the guy? Why are you folks fixating on the soup? Tell me about the guy.
They're fixated on this.
How will this end? I'm gonna go home. Yeah.
Shoot him.
Shoot him.
I would take the picture of the guy and tell him that he can have it back if he survives the battle.
Yeah. What would you do? You're a Wellington. What would you do? Connie, stop looking down. I know, Connie, I feel like she's reading something really important. What would you do? Shoot the guy. Okay, so let me tell you what Wellington did. So Wellington says, here's what we're gonna do. He calls his officers over and says, see this man here? This is what I need tomorrow. Stubborn resistance, obstinate resistance in the face of impossible odds. This is what I want tomorrow. Promote this man to sergeant. Battlefield promotion. C-bar of the Enniskillings went to the sky. Next day, but they formed infantry squares. They were rushed by French cuirassiers, heavy cavalry, giants in steel plate. 6 times they were charged. 6 times they repelled heavy French cavalry. In fact, once Wellington was caught outside and he ran inside behind them to take cover, which, by the way, they commemorate to this day. Battlefield promotion. Any person can obey the rules and say we gotta shoot him, but sometimes cycle of one makes more sense. So sometimes you take the rule book, if you can, if it makes sense, and you throw it away. Thank you guys, I'll see you next
So
week.
what the